Hello friends, my name is C. Rajendra Arora and today we shall be discussing in this video the one of the most controversial, critical and peculiar concept in GST, and that is intermediary services. My dear friends, intermediary services, when we say intermediary services, let's first talk about some of the provisions of IGST Act. When we say export of service, Section 2 subsection 6 identifies 5 tests to be applied for any service, any supply of service to be considered as export of service. First is the location of the supplier should be in India. Second, recipient should be outside India. Place of supply should be outside India. The consideration should be received in forex, convertible foreign exchange or INR permitted if permitted by RBI. Fifth condition is, as per section 2 subsection 6, is that the supplier and recipient should not merely be the establishments of distinct persons only, as per section 8 explanation 1 to section 8 of IGST Act. If these 5 conditions are met, any supply of service shall be considered as export of supply, export of service. If it is export, it shall obtain the status of zero rated as per section 16 of the IGST Act. If it is zero rated, the exporter shall be eligible to obtain the refund of input tax credit accumulated on inward supplies received by him. Now the question arises that what shall be the place of supply in this case? Now, place of supply, section 13 of the IGST Act is attracted to place of supply in this specific case. Section 13 subsection 2 says general rule, wherein the location of the supplier shall be the place of supply. But in case of intermediary services, the place of supply shall be the location of the in section 13 subsection 2, location of the recipient is the place of supply. But in case of section 13 subsection 8, in case of intermediary, the location of the supplier shall be the place of supply. Now, who is intermediary? Next question arises. If an intermediary, as per section 2 subsection 13, is any broker, agent or by whatever name called who arranges or facilitates the supply of goods for two or more persons, who arranges or facilitates supply of goods or services for 2 or more persons, but does not include any person who supplies goods or services on his own account. Now, if an agent or by whatever name called, if one falls into the definition of intermediary, then the place of supply shall be the location of the supplier. The place of supply, location of the supplier, in that case it would be here in India. The place of supply, if it is in India, it shall not be considered as export. The status of zero rated is taken away. The moment status of zero rated is taken away, not only the refund of input tax credit accumulated is denied, but also the supply, which earlier is to be considered as zero rated, export and no tax levied, tax at the rate of 18% shall be levied to it. Along with that, the equal amount of penalty and interest shall also be levied to it. So it becomes a very big issue in times to come. Now, who shall be considered as intermediary? My dear friends, this concept has been there. It is a peculiar concept. This concept has been there in service tax regime also, and it is there in GST law also. Now, largely it depends on the facts and circumstances of each case. You should resort to, first of all, the agreement between the supplier and the recipient, whether there is a principal to principal relationship, how the consideration is received by the supplier here in India, consideration if received per transaction or monthly basis, and whether the supplier represents the recipient in a way or some other way here in India or outside India to execute the services which has been entrusted to him. And then there is a CBEC education guide also issued by the department earlier in the service tax regime, erstwhile service tax regime, wherein intermediary was in detail explained. So one has to consider various factors to determine whether some services, some supplier is an intermediary or not. But department is taking a very I would say a bold step to consider each and every exporter of service as intermediary, especially after we serve global Maharashtra advanced ruling authority judgment, wherein that supply of service was considered as intermediary, and now the every refund granting authority is considering the majorly maximum transactions at intermediary and denying the refund. So this needs to be very, very carefully analyzed, and if not properly taken care, then it can be a very big tax litigation in times to come. So I sincerely hope that this video shall be useful to you. Thank you very much for watching.